This video is brought to you by Cubamajigs, a series of reusable gaming packs for MTG Cube sideboards and other games like Keyforge. Check them out at Cubamajigs.com with new designs every Monday. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Tuesday means it's Type 2 or Standard Tuesday, and today we're giving a little bit of love to one of the most overlooked guilds from Ravnica Allegiance. In Standard, all the 3-color decks are doing well. We see lots of Simic, we see Izzet, we see so many of the guilds really performing well, except Orzhov. We haven't seen a whole lot of Orzhov, so today we're looking at Orzhov Midrange, and this one comes to us from Jace TMC, who took the deck to a top 8 finish in a small South American tournament, so congrats to Jace TMC on a really cool deck. A quick reminder before we break down Orzhov Midrange for Standard. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Orzhov Midrange is basically a kind of curve-centric deck. We don't have any real specific combo. Instead, we're playing good, powerful stuff, starting at 2 mana, working our way up the curve, so the easiest way to really understand the deck is basically just work our way up the curve. So starting off in the 2-drop slot, we have a lot of weird card advantage. Seeker Squire comes in, explores, maybe gives us a 2/3 for 2, which isn't bad, or maybe it draws us a land, so gives us some card selection at the worst case, maybe some card advantage on a non-curve body. And then Tithe Taker, a new addition from Ravnica Allegiance. This one, it's a weird card. A 2/1 for 2 isn't exciting, but it does give us a 1/1 flyer when it dies, and then it taxes our opponent in a weird way. If our opponent tries to do stuff during our turn, settle the wreckage, cast a removal spell, whatever, counter spells, this just sort of hates on them, makes them cost a little bit more. So while it's not a hard lock piece by any stretch, it does slow down our opponent, especially if they're a control deck trying to play at instant speed. So these cards start us off in the 2-drop slot. In the 3-drop slot, we got 2 different options. Midnight Reaper just gives us a bit of card advantage as our stuff's dying. If our opponent's killing our stuff with removal, if stuff's trading off with combat, if our opponent wraps our board, we get to draw a card for each of our creatures that dies. So it's a nice way to just keep our hand full, especially in grindy matchups with lots of removal. And then Forbidding Spirit, it's a little bit weird, but it's basically a one-shot Ghostly Prison. Comes into play until our next turn. Our opponent's got to pay 2 to attack us with anything, so it shuts down aggro decks with a bunch of creatures, or at least makes them spend a lot of mana if they want to attack. So it's not quite you can attack us, but it does make it really cumbersome for our opponent to attack the turn after it comes into play. Plus, I mean, it's a 3/3 for 3, which are reasonable stats anyway. Then we get to our big payoffs, and our big payoffs are in the 4 and 5 mana slot. First off, we have Basilica Bellhaunt, which is one of my favorite creatures in Standard. This card is so good and so underrated. It comes down, forces our opponent to discard a card, so we get some value right away. Plus, we gain 3 life, which is really nice against aggro in specific, and having 4 toughness means it dodges a lot of removal, lightning strikes and so forth. So some decks, especially aggro/mono red decks, really struggle to be a Basilica Bellhaunt. So that's one of our payoffs, but our biggest, baddest payoffs are our angels. We have a bunch of angels at the top end of our curve, starting with Seraph of the Scales, which is a card I was kind of meh about during spoiler season, because I was worried it would just get exiled too much to Lava Coils, to Vraska's Contempts, but it has proven itself to be very good in Standard. Its stats are fine, its abilities are decent, and then when it dies, it leaves behind 2 spirits, so we're kind of getting 6 flying power out of it over the long haul, so it makes it a pretty resilient threat. Yes, there are certain removal spells that really blow it out, but in general, it is strong enough and has enough abilities that it's worth that downside of sometimes dying and getting exiled by Lava Coilist, not getting the Afterlife tokens. Then we have Angel of Grace, which is a great way to just sneak in and blow out our opponent if they're on a big attack. Plus, it's just a massive flash flyer that can also gain us life. And then Lyra Dawnbringer, devastating against aggressive decks, pumps our other angels, gives them lifelink, another great threat on the top end of our curve. So that's our creature base. Then we have the odd slide. This is a slide that pains me. It hurts my heart a little bit. I don't know what's going on with this deck building choice. One, Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants. A good card, gets back our cheap creatures, can put counters on our stuff, the emblems, game winning. Then we have another good card, the Immortal Sun. The problem is, the Immortal Sun makes it so Planeswalkers can't work. Yes, it draws this card, it pumps our stuff, they're both really good cards. They're just not really good cards together. So a little bit skeptical that you want to be main decking Planeswalkers and also Immortal Suns. I've made this mistake before. That's why it hurts me so much. We did this when Immortal Sun first came out against the odds. I have made this mistake. So I think you might want 2 Immortal Suns or 2 Ajanis. Probably not the 1-1 split, but still card advantage engines for the deck. Then we have our removal. Cast Down for the early game, Vraska's Contempt for the late game, and in between Mortify, which is just so good because not only does it kill creatures, it's relevant against control, getting rid of Wilderness Reclamations, getting rid of things like Search for Azcanta, so it's almost never dead in any matchup. Mana base wise, Memorial Folly just helps us grind out in the late game. Opponent kills our stuff, we get it back, kills our stuff, we get it back. Then we have some dual lands, some basic lands. In the sideboard, for the more controlling matchups, we get Duress to attack our opponent's hand, Revival Revenge to reanimate our cheap creatures, actually trades up a little bit in mana. 2 mana can get back one of our 3 drops. Sorcerer's Spyglass is a way to shut down Teferis and other Planeswalkers. For aggro, a bunch more removal for the early game. Moment of Craving, Cast Down, Settle the Wreckage is a sweeper. And then Ixalan's Binding, Vraska's Contempt. Kind of walk the line. You can use them against aggro as removal. They're good against control because they get rid of Planeswalkers. A little bit on the expensive side, but nice and flexible. And that is Orzhov Midrange for Ravnica Allegiance Standard. And that's been our instant deck tech for today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.